Yeah, hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. As usual, I'm Naodo Joel going to take you through a new concept. This new concept is known as information sources. So you can join me as we dive into this new term that's seeming to be a problem to most of the people. So first of all, let us first begin clearly by defining what are information sources. Information sources here is information sources that can be any material. As you see, any material, records or documents that provide data or knowledge on a particular subject. These information sources here, since they provide knowledge about a particular subject, you find that they are sources that serve as the foundation for research, inquiry and decision making across all academic professionals and everyday contexts. Information sources can vary in type, from format and accessibility, and they can be classified in different ways depending on the nature of the information. But let us try to categorize them, like to group them in here. Basically, we are going to group them in three formats: primary sources, secondary sources, and there's the third way we can group them to be tertiary sources. But for me particularly, I want to focus on the primary sources and the secondary sources. Here now in this video, I will specifically speak about the primary sources basically, but let me first give you a clue on each. The primary sources, these are primary sources like is a direct or first-hand piece of information or evidence created at a time of the event. For example, let us say if an accident has occurred and you're the first person to see, meaning you person seeing, the person seeing the occasion is the primary source of the information, meaning primary source of information will occur at the point when the event is occurring. That's what we mean by primary sources. Then secondary sources, these secondary sources here, these are sources is one that interprets, analyzes or summarizes primary sources or events, meaning if I come if I come and maybe perhaps let me say I come, then I try to interrogate the person who was seeing the information, meaning me who is speaking that information from the first primary source, from the primary source, I've become the secondary source. And in most cases find that the secondary source, first of all, the primary source will give the secondary source the information, but the secondary source will try to interpret it and analyze it and break it down into a simpler language, meaning it tries to bring it into a layman's language. In case the primary source was harder to understand, the secondary source brings it in a clear format of understanding it. So let us focus more and more on primary sources. I'm going to focus in this video. I will be focusing on the primary source. And the primary sources here, they are categorized in different ways, and some of the characteristics of these primary sources here now specifically I will speak about originality, raw data, unmediated evidence, time related. Those are the characteristics. It is originality, raw data, it has unmediated evidence, time related, in a way that if I speak about originality, there I will be specifically meaning that the sources are the first to provide information about a particular event or subject. Are you sure? Are you getting it? They are unaltered direct records that offer original thoughts or raw data, meaning the first person will give an original thought or raw data about that information. And I told you raw data and information, you understand. If I say raw data, you understand. So when I say it's a raw data, because I've spoken about raw data, it's also one of the characteristics of primary sources, raw data. If I say raw data, meaning the primary sources often present raw, unfiltered information. For example, let us say a scientist's original lab notes. For example, you have been in the lab, you are taking the experiment while noting. You take the experiment while noting. That scientist in the lab is the primary source because he's seeing what's happening during the lab. So now as they write the textbooks, maybe teachers come to teach us in class about some research someone that did, that one will become a secondary source. Now if I say it is unmediated evidence, unmediated evidence it means that there is no interpretation or analysis from another person. The source itself is evidence, meaning me persons saying I'll just speak exactly what happened, but I won't interpret. I won't say that the other one was in blame. I'll just say that a car just came, it hit the tree fell, meaning I'm not trying, me myself, I'm the evidence. Yeah, I'm not having anyone there to come and try to interpret it or analyze the information. I'll give you the way it is. That's the primary source. It is time related, meaning that they are closely tied to the moment in which they were created, meaning the moment an event is taking place is the moment you are giving the information, meaning you acquire the information when the event is taking place. You cannot acquire the information when the event has already taken place and say that you are what? The primary source. The primary source of information is the information taken when the event is taking place, and the first person to have the information is the one we call the primary source. So let us dive further. These primary sources, you may say the man is speaking. This man here is speaking about primary sources. As in this doctor is speaking about primary sources. Let me try to give you some examples of primary sources, so that you can open up your thinking. Some of the examples of these primary sources are the documents, creative works, oral histories, and an interview, articrafts, scientific data. All these are examples of primary sources. Now you say saying documents and you are not getting it clearly. Documents here are meaning historical documents, like for example the Uganda Agreement is an example of what? A document, and is a primary source because the Uganda Agreement was written at the point when they were agreeing the Ugandan constitution. You understand? That's a primary source, and it's evidence itself. You realize that it's a primary source. Some legal documents, such as the court cases and the government legislations, those are also examples of documents which are primary sources. Or you can speak about personal letters when you write a letter for yourself, like a diary. You can get a book and write about something about your life. Today is Tuesday, this one. So that's what you call a primary source, and designer documents. When I speak about creative works, a creative work is a primary source in the way that someone will write a novel, will write a poem, will write a story, whatever you write by creativity, that's a primary source because it's getting it at the event of thinking. You understand? So the oral histories, these are testimonies or interviews with with individuals. For example, you go to court and you are one of the witnesses. They will have to interview you, so you are the primary source because you are speaking what happened at the event. No one else got the information from you, but you are the first person to receive the first hand information. Yeah. If I say artifacts, those are tools, clothing, and everyday objects from a specific culture. You understand? In Uganda, in Africa, there are different cultures. So whatever tools and objects they use in different cultures, those are artifacts. And then scientific data, that is those are raw data from scientific experiments. I told you, for example, when someone is doing an experiment and is writing his own stuff, then some data sets from surveys or experiments, like someone will survey and conclude some results. Those are examples of secondary sources. So primary sources. So now here you will come to realize that these are all primary sources since they are first hand information also. So let us look at some of the purposes. I think let me take you through the purposes of primary sources. Primary sources, they are raw evidences, and I've explained that they are research foundation. I've explained that, like for example, I told you in the labs, the scientists doing his experiments in the labs, they are insight into context. Then there are direct connections in these primary sources. Those are some of the. I've tried to summarize them for you so that you can easily see them and have something to learn. Let us look at the roles of these primary sources. These primary sources are essential in the field that require original data or first-hand account. For example, in the court you cannot come that and then now you say that so and so told me as evidence. We want first-hand information. You understand? So that's what we call role a primary source. It's essential in the field that require original data and fields. They require a qualitative research, meaning before you come up with any information, you have to have a research, and you a person yourself who has made research will be the primary source. That's why I told you that information literacy enables you to gain research skills. You're understanding here. Then test hypothesis and explore new angle of analysis. I think that's self-explanatory. Let me try to tell you about some of the pros and the cons of these primary sources. The pros and the cons here, meaning the advantages and disadvantages. The pros stands for advantages, then the cons stands for stands for disadvantages. Some of the pros are it offers direct access to the past and offers hand account. Then it provides authenticity, original thoughts and raw data. Then it facilitates new insights and original analysis. I think all that is clear. The cons here, meaning the disadvantage, whereby these disadvantages often require interpretation and contextual knowledge, then they can be incomplete or might be difficult to analyze without background. Then I've tried to draw up a whole conclusion about the primary sources, thereby I've told you that the primary sources are essential for obtaining direct and mediated evidence from the time period and the phenomenon being studied. I think that's a very good conclusion, and they provide the foundation data or account needed to form new insight theories or conclusions, as I told you before. Thank you for watching. I remain Awole Joel. Please subscribe if you haven't to stay updated, and let's support this channel. Hit the notification bell to be updated. Thank you. Love you all. See you in my next video.